All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the March 31st Helm developer meeting. Our agenda is not too long for today. Under announcements first, I guess I'm going to give a summary of KubeCon and Cloud Native Con. So for Helm, not much has changed from the last meeting, but again, we will have a Helm maintainer talk. We will have a Helm booth. We will also be doing virtual office hours. I still need to confirm staffing for that, for all those things. And then there is the Helm meeting room that is just open space that's available for us to use. I think it's a 4-hour block. And then I think Scott had mentioned a little bit about maybe using that space to talk about doing the Helm Summit later in Detroit. And if anyone wants to talk with users or anything like that, we can use that space for that as well. So I'm just working on the schedule for all of those things, and we'll reach out to the maintainers soon. Even if you're not a maintainer and you'd like to participate, let me know. And yeah, so we should have a decent presence there. And next, under announcements, we have Adam. Is Adam here? Yes, Adam is here. Would you like to talk about the finalization of fuzzing engagement?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I'm looking forward to stopping by the booth, by the way, in Valencia. So yeah, looking forward to that. So this is just a small announcement on the fuzzing work that has been going on for the last 2 months to write a lot of fuzzers for the Helm project and set these fuzzers up to run continuously by way of the OSS fuzz service. The engagement is now coming to an end, and as part of finalizing that, we are writing a report that the CNCF would like to publish, preferably on the Helm repository. This is just a guideline, but it's our suggestion that we do that. And the report has been shared with the maintainers that are on the contact list on the OSS Fuzz integration, and I believe that is Matt Farina, Scott, and Mark. And feel free to share the report with anyone internally. We have just shared it with those 3 because they are on the contact list. Yeah, and I think in terms of publishing this report, we would suggest, or for us, what works great would be the week of starting with the 11th of April. But that is just our preference. And if you have any, if anyone disagrees or would like a little bit more time doing that, then we are completely fine with that as well.
Quick question, Adam. So I read this earlier today. It's just a very nice report. Thank you. Do you, just to be clear, are you saying that you would not want this link to be public, like say, for example, in our notes until after the 11th?
So I'm not saying that. That's, if you would, are okay with that, that's completely fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, feel free to share it with anyone if you'd like.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'll paste in the notes then, because I think it's okay. What you found
for the record,
yeah.
For the record, I think it's invite only at the moment, so it is a closed document. But yeah, anyone. I mean, if you are okay with anyone requesting access, then I'm okay with sharing access with everyone.
Okay, sounds good.
So in case someone requests access, sorry to interrupt, Scott, shall I just give access to anyone?
That seems good. Bridget, there are no 0-day events, because if there were, yeah, that would not be a good thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, and the last question was just, do you work with people in moving the fuzzing from the CNCF repo to the individual project repos, or is that something that you you expect mostly the project maintainers to do themselves?
We are fine with doing that, but I think it does require a little bit of feedback before we do that, and that would be a little bit on the setup, how you would prefer it. For example, would you prefer the fuzzers in a separate Helm repository or in the packages where they should live, or just things like that. We are fine with moving them over completely, but a little bit of feedback would be great here.
Okay.
So we perhaps it would be good to include in the report exactly which feedback we would require from the maintainers, and then you can, if you would like, you can provide us that, and we can move it over.
That makes sense.
All right, we good to wrap that up?
Yes.
Yeah, if there's nothing else, then that's it for me.
Okay. All right, next announcement item is Scott's about GitOps for Helm users. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's really just short. I just want to say, hey, if anyone's interested in managing Helm information and Helm repos and Helm releases with GitOps, there are several ways to do it, and I'm going to be talking about the Helm controller right after this talk. So I have to leave a little bit early to set up, but yeah. So if you want to, you're welcome, and I put the link there to my tweet anyway, so you can just like click on it and be like, yes, I want to attend, and then you're in. So I'm not saying I expect anyone to be there, but I just wanted to let you know for those who want to see that.
Cool. And then moving into discussions, the next one is also Scott's. Can you share a bit more about your blog post?
Yeah, in short, it's about how to manage Helm releases and Helm declaratively. It's not focused on the tool that it's not focused only on the tool that I'm going to be presenting on today. It's across various tools that let you do that. I really haven't added anything to it in the last 2 weeks. I think it's really there was a suggestion by Bridget to look at an additional tool that's we list CNCF tools and then some tools that are not CNCF projects, because it's just good to give a more rounded view of what the options are. For example, Helm file is not a CNCF project, but it's important to note. Orchestra is another one by Microsoft, and so I didn't really know much about that. So luckily, Bridget connected me to the maintainers, and we had a really good conversation, including it's been languishing a little bit, and we have some ideas on how to kind of take it to the next step and where it can fit into this ecosystem a little bit more tightly. So we're all pretty excited about that, and we'll just note the details there. The only thing left is there were a few other suggestion tools, maybe one or more, that Matt Farina wanted to add, and I think he's just quite busy right now. So this is not an emergency to get the blog post out, but I'm just waiting on him right now for which ones he wants, and I'll do the legwork for it. And also note to anyone else that if you know of other tools that you can use to manage Helm declaratively, let us know, and we can, you can discuss it right on that PR, or if you want to reach out and you want some help doing it, we can collaborate on it. I'm thinking about moving the milestone to next week. I guess it just depends on if I hear from Matt today. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Next, Andrew has the topic of managing mixed repository types. Can you talk about that?
I certainly can. So this topic came up as I started to look at, now that we have OCI repositories as a way to manage dependencies, or just a way to manage Helm artifacts, what happens when we have dependencies that cross between different repository types? Hypothetically, let's say we store a Helm chart in two separate repositories types. One that I did recently was for the 6-core community. I am distributing it both in a OCI format as well as in a traditional Helm chart. The challenge comes into how do we manage appropriately any dependencies that may be part of that Helm chart? because you have to, at that point for dependencies, pick one or the other. A traditional Helm repository or a OCI repository. So I put together a bit of a paper that discusses the challenges and some options that are out there. One of the options are create two separate charts, which I'm not a huge fan of because you then have to manage the lifecycle of two different artifacts. And then the other option is to potentially look at making a repository in the dependency section a array where you can put your different sources, and then based on how it's being pulled, it favors that type. That's kind of some thoughts I had. Looking forward to the community on any thoughts that you all have.
I don't want to take up too much of the time here because I had an announcement and I had another thing, but a very quick response to you, Andrew. Super good question. My initial thought about this is for Helm, mainly one is just what we have right now is as a rule of thumb, if chart maintainers are okay with their user base, with requiring their user base to upgrade to Helm 3.8.0 or above, then there's no problem making their charts dependencies also OCI registries. If they're not sure of that, or if there are people with clients that they don't know that can upgrade to that, then it's probably good to just for their sake to hold off a bit. I know that might be obvious, but I just wanted to say it out loud. And the only other thing about the array, we just would need to make sure that that the chart .yaml will work with the chart chart v2 API. So we have like chart 1 and chart 2 and Helm Helm 3 can support the current version, or actually both versions. We would need another version of the Helm API if we wanted to make a change that changed that struct. So that's the only thing I'm thinking of. Otherwise, let's look into it. That would be great.
Cool. Sounds like we can wrap that up. Next, we have Susan. Susan, would you like to talk about artifact verification framework for Ratify? Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Karen. Hi, everyone. It's my first time meeting here. I'm an engineer on the Azure Container Registry team, and I've been recently working on Ratify, which is a artifact verification framework. So a sample scenario for us today is the customer can configure gatekeeper constraints for a deployment. And when on deployment, gatekeeper will invoke Ratify to validate, say, the signature of the image. And we're currently hitting an issue where gatekeeper have a 3-second timeout on the external call. With this 3-second is not enough sometimes to perform the validation, because during authentication to private registry, there's many layers of token exchange. So we recently learned about the chart hooks, and we're looking into like, is pre-install hook an option to do the Ratify validation? And like, do you see any blockers in the workflow?
Quick question, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Does that validation that you're waiting on happen through the installation of the chart as well, or one of the...
Sorry, Scott, I didn't get the whole sentence. It cut off a little bit. Can you repeat?
Oh, no. Okay. Yes, I will. Does the validation that you're talking about that sometimes takes more than a few seconds happen through deploying the chart, or is it through one of the chart's dependencies? I'm not really familiar with the gatekeeper chart. Sorry.
I see. I think it's not a part of the installation. So what we do on validation of the image, we try to fetch the different artifacts that could be a signature or an SBOM. So we have to pull that in from the registry. So like one specific question is like, what is the timeout on the pre-install validation? Because during the workflow, I see that you can wait on the result of the hook.
15 minutes by default.
15 minutes. So that's a pretty good amount of time for us to do the validation. Thanks, Jar. And the other question is it easy to get the name of the image that's being deployed?
That's a very good question. We have an issue for adding for standardizing adding that annotations in the chart.yaml file. But there are some interesting notes about that. One is most chart maintainers don't do it because there's it's really not standard. Artifact Hub has an annotation for it now. Anyway, maybe we can point to the issue, and it looks like Joe could probably speak to this too, but I just, in case no one else knew, I wanted to mention that there is about that.
Sorry, I'm at the timeout. I dealt with the time. But no, I mean, I wouldn't even bother with trying to find out what the name of the resource is that's being created. I would look for labels. I'd match it on labels. So as long as you set the label to whatever it is you're expecting, then you can match on that, and then you don't have to worry about what the name is.
Okay. Oh, I had another question. Like, I see there's an option to spawn a job or a pod. So all we want to do is to reach out to the existing ratify pod and like kind of like a HTTP call. Is a pod more suitable or a job is more suitable?
I mean, I'd probably do a job.
Is
I
that the more lightweight?
Well, I
I
mean, anytime I have something that I want to have run, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Anytime I have something that I'm trying to run that is a one-off, I use a job because it's going to do its thing and then it goes away, and then I don't have to worry about
there's no guarantee of completion with the bear pod.
that too.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that's all the question I have. Like, we're not sure if we will go down this route yet, but we just want to explore that option. So it sounds to me that it is something we can try out if we cannot resolve the gatekeeper timeout issue. But if we did hook ourselves up to pre-install, then Ratify kind of becomes the admission controller for the deployment. It may or may not be what we want. But yeah, thanks so much for the information. And if someone can point me to the issue of the deployment name, I'll take a look. Thank you. Back to you, Karen.
Cool. So we have a little bit of time left. Joe, would you like to revisit the PR reviewing brainstorm conversation from last week?
Sure. I mean, I was hoping to be more people here, but I mean, my intention was for this to like not point fingers and say you need to review more, but to find ways of making it, I don't know, lighter weight on the reviewers. Is there anything that we could? I mean, issue triage. I mean, is there anything else I can do to help pre-review things, or I don't know. Is there something we can do to make it so that the reviewers don't have to spend as much time, make it lighter weight on them? I don't know. I was wondering if anybody had any ideas.
I
think it's an ongoing issue, of course, because Helm is a very busy project with a very busy issue queue, and there's always going to be fewer people, reviewing the issues than there are people making issues. So I feel like we're not going to, kind of like, I think all of us have given up on inbox zero, like we're not going to ever get to issue queue zero. So maybe the question is like, either in issue queue review, if you're seeing a lot of the same issues come up again and again, maybe are there tactical docs updates that we should consider? Like, what do you think in terms of the common trends?
I'm not even talking about the issues. I'm talking about PRs.
Oh,
Yeah.
and are these PRs people have discussed with us in an issue, or are these the PRs that kind of people show up with a fully formed idea that may or may not be what we can actually use? Or
Sometimes both. A lot of the ones that I'm concerned with are things that are solving issues that are in the issue queue. So there's issues brought up. Sometimes they're as simple as this error wasn't being checked, and so we get a panic. Sometimes they're more complicated, but even the simple check the error isn't getting the reviews that. And of course, then whoever created the PR 2 weeks later, they're busy. They don't care anymore. They figured it was abandoned, and then they never come back. So I feel like this is a cycle that if we could get in front of it, maybe we get more reviewers because more people would join the project.
I think there was someone on the call one time who we had asked to do issue triaging, and they had said like they weren't like, or like they weren't an official reviewer. I don't know what that list looks like, if there are people that we can ask to like become emeritus so we can move in new people. Is that an option?
I mean, we don't have a number limit on the number of people who could become maintainers in the Helm project. Just the core has a numerical limit. I think it is more like Joe's saying, he's coming in, he's doing triage. Do we think Joe himself or other people are ready to become Helm actual maintainers? Perhaps that's continue people along that path is a method we should be looking at. What do we think, Joe?
I wonder about that myself. I mean, especially when I look something over and review it and like, yeah, this looks good. This looks like it'll solve the problem. And then the core maintainer comes in behind me and says, nope, this is completely wrong. And here's why. So I don't know.
This is why we have 2 reviewers on a lot of things, right?
But yeah, I will commonly try to review something, and I'll when I think it looks good to me, I'll hit my approve button and say it looks good to me, but I'm not an approver. So they don't wonder why it's not moving forward after that. Maybe I'll just keep doing that. Maybe I'll make we have a new label that maybe pre-reviewed or something, so that the maintainer could know that something's already been looked at for obvious problems, and then maybe that would help. I don't know.
Perhaps those are tactical discussions that we could have.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully get more maintainers to join in the next few meetings. Guess, is there anything else? Can we get some help for assignments next week, maybe?
Yeah, I'll keep doing issue.
Thank you, Joe. It's next week's spring break, or it's around now. Do you want to take moderate and I'll take notes for now?
You're such a good moderator. I'll take notes for you next week.
Okay, that's fine. All right, put my name down. I think we can wrap up unless anyone has anything else they would like to raise for today's meeting. All right, then. I guess we will go ahead and wrap up today. See you all next Thursday. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.